Okay, let's try a quick visualization exercise. Unless you're driving, of course, then please keep your eyes on the road.
Definitely.
But for everyone else, just for a second, close your eyes and picture the quintessential local government official.
Right.
When I say borough council member,
Yeah.
what's the first image that loads in your brain? Be honest.
I think for most people, the mind just goes to this very specific, maybe slightly dusty caricature. It's usually one of two things.
Yep.
You've got the young, ambitious, aspiring career politician, the guy in the slightly ill-fitting suit who's just using this as a stepping stone.
The climber?
The climber. Or you've got the retiree who just needs a hobby to fill their Tuesday nights they've run out of puzzles to solve or something.
Exactly. The climber or the tinkerer. It's always one of those two. But what if the reality is something else entirely?
Okay.
What if the person making decisions about your sidewalks and your zoning laws is a guy who, spends his mornings boxing and his weekends winning baseball championships?
That is a much more dynamic and, frankly, a much more intimidating image.
It really is. Today, for this deep dive, we're unpacking what we're calling a profile in service. We're taking a close look at the background, philosophy of Dan Kunze, a council member for Malvern Borough.
And I think it's important to say up front, this isn't just a biography.
No.
We're not just going to read you his LinkedIn page. That would be, well, boring.
Very boring.
The mission here is really a case study in what you could call skill translation.
I like that phrase.
We have this really detailed profile, and it gives us a chance to ask a fascinating question. How does a high-intensity background, we're talking military service, national security, tech, real estate, how does all that translate to the very grounded, very unglamorous work of running a small town?
It's such a study in contrast, isn't it? The macro world of national defense and the micro world of, fixing potholes.
But as we're about to see, they might not be as different as they seem.
So let's unpack this resume because substantial is really the only word for it. This is not someone who spent his career in municipal administration.
Not even close. You look at his path, and it starts with military service right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And he specifically says that this shaped his views on responsibility and teamwork from a very early age. It sort of sets a baseline of discipline.
Okay.
But then, instead of just staying in that lane, he pivots. He moves into leadership in the tech sector. He's a long-term investor. He's involved in real estate development.
With projects in Nashville, Tennessee, which I thought was interesting.
That detail really stood out to me, too.
Because Nashville, for the last decade, has been one of the fastest growing, most chaotic real estate markets in the country.
Absolutely. It's a baptism by fire in urban planning. If you can navigate development there, you learn a lot.
You see what happens when growth outpaces infrastructure.
Yeah.
And you learn how to mitigate that. So it's a lot of high-level strategic work. Usually with a resume like that, you'd expect someone to be looking for, I don't know, a corporate board seat.
For a consultancy gig, right.
But there is this one specific term in his background that I think is a kind of skeleton key to understanding his whole approach.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
He mentions working in dual-use technology.
That's the one. It's the linchpin of his entire philosophy.
It sounds like something from a spy novel, right?
Yeah.
Dual-use technology. For anyone listening who isn't deep in the defense world, what does that actually mean?
It sounds complicated, but the concept is actually beautiful in its simplicity.
Okay.
In engineering and defense, dual use just refers to tech or systems that have both a civilian and a military application. The classic example everyone knows is GPS.
Right. We use it to find the nearest coffee shop.
Exactly. You use it to find a latte, but the military uses it for precision drone operations or troop movements. It serves two masters.
Okay.
But here's where the real insight is. It's not just about what it does, it's about how it's built.
What do you mean?
Well, if you're building dual-use tech, you're operating under two sort of competing sets of constraints. On the civilian side, it has to be commercially viable.
Meaning cost-effective.
Cost-effective, efficient, easy to use. If it's too expensive, the market just won't buy it. You can't just throw endless money at it.
So it has to be lean. It has to make economic sense.
Right. But on the military side, it has to be resilient. It has to work when the power grid is down or when someone's jamming the signal or in extreme heat. It has to be robust.
So you're balancing everyday usability with extreme resilience. You're trying to build something cheap enough to sell, but tough enough to go to war.
Precisely. You are optimizing for both the sunny day and the hurricane. Now, take that mindset and apply it to a borough council.
That is a fascinating lens because usually local government just bounces between let's do the cheapest possible thing and let's over-engineer this one project.
Right. If you bring that dual-use mentality to a town, you change the questions you ask. You're not just looking at a paving project and asking, is this the cheapest asphalt?
You're asking something else.
You're asking, is this infrastructure commercially viable for our budget, but also resilient enough to withstand the next 50 years of whatever the weather throws at us?
It's a mindset of hardening the system while keeping the books balanced.
Exactly. It moves local politics from being reactive to being proactive, from reaction to preparation.
A pipe bursts, they scramble to fix it.
That's the normal way. But this background suggests a risk management approach. He's talking about financial stability for the next decade, not just surviving the current fiscal year.
It's about building a town that can take a punch.
That is the perfect phrase for it. Can the town take a punch economically, environmentally, and keep functioning? That's the dual-use standard.
And speaking of taking a punch, we'll get to the boxing, I promise.
Well, I was hoping we would.
I want to touch on the motivation, because you have this guy with a high-level strategic brain. Why Malvern Council? Why worry about sewer budgets?
It's a fair question. It feels like a step down in scale, right? But to get it, you have to look at what we can call the service thread. This isn't a sudden pivot for him.
He traces this back to his childhood.
All the way back. He mentions volunteering with Special Olympics and Big Brothers Big Sisters, and he has this quote that I circled a few times.
I think I know the one.
It says, at the time, it wasn't about leadership or resumes. It was about showing up for people and being useful.
Being useful is such a humble, sort of utilitarian way to put it.
It really is. In a world obsessed with impact and disruption, being useful sounds almost quaint.
But do you think that really holds up? Is there a straight line from volunteering as a kid to overseeing municipal budgets?
I think there is, and it comes down to the psychology of distance.
Distance from the outcome.
Think about it. If you work in national security, you're protecting the country. That's a massive, incredibly important, but very abstract concept.
Right.
You do incredible work, maybe you even save lives, but you don't necessarily see the result when you walk out your front door.
You can't touch it. You can't shake its hand.
Exactly. But local government, if you're on the Borough Council and you fix a dangerous intersection, you see your neighbor driving safely through it on Wednesday.
It's tangible. Immediate feedback.
It's a much tighter feedback loop. And for someone who values being useful, that has to be incredibly satisfying. He sees the council as the natural next chapter of that utility.
It's where decisions are closest to people's lives.
That's it. In the corporate world, you move pixels or capital. Here, you move dirt and concrete.
Okay, so we have the who and the why. Let's talk about the where. Because you can have the best philosophy in the world, but if you don't understand the place you're governing, you're going to fail.
And that's a huge problem in modern suburbs, with what I've heard called the dormitory effect.
Oh, that's a real issue. Break that down for us. What is the dormitory effect?
It's when a town becomes just a place to sleep. People buy a house there, good schools, manageable commute, but their life, their work, their friends, their gym is somewhere else entirely.
It's a hotel you own.
A hotel you own, that's a perfect way to put it. And when you treat a town like a hotel, you don't care about its soul. You just care if the trash gets picked up.
And reading this profile, that does not seem to be the case with Dan Kunze. He seems pretty invested in Malvern as a living thing.
He really does, and it starts with why he chose it. He says it wasn't about flash or hype, it was the feel.
He mentions walkable streets, safety for his kids to grow into their own independence.
Which is a huge factor for parents now. Finding a place where a kid can just be a kid, ride a bike to a friend's house, that's a rare commodity.
And he says that's when Malvern stopped being where they lived and started being home. It's that psychological shift.
And he backs it up with his physical routine. This is the part of the profile that really struck me. He's an early riser, walks the Paoli battlefield, but here's the key detail.
The office.
He rents office space in the borough.
Let's drill down on that. Why is that so significant? Lots of people work from home now.
Think about his career. Tech investing, real estate. He could easily work from a home office. He could be on Zoom all day from his basement.
Right.
By choosing to rent space in town, he's making a conscious choice to be present in the business district during the workday. He's not just disappearing at 8 a.m.
He sees the town when the trash trucks are running, the lunch rush, or the lack of one.
Exactly. He sees the town's metabolism. He's not just a resident. He's an economic participant on Main Street.
The metabolism of the town. That's a great way to put it. If you're not there between 9 and 5, you miss the heartbeat.
You really do. And he proves he's embedded by listing his local circuit. Reading this list made me incredibly hungry.
It's quite a culinary tour of Malvern.
It is.
He lists happy hour at the Flying Pig, ice cream at Scoops, breakfast at Julie Ann's, coffee at the Buttery, dinners at Anthony's, and Brick and Brew.
It reads like a best of Malvern guide.
It does. But let's play devil's advocate. Does this actually matter for governance?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just the classic politician move of name-dropping local spots?
I think it matters if you view them as habits, which is the word he uses. That's the key. If you go to the Buttery for coffee every morning, you're not a politician shaking hands for a photo op. You're a regular.
You become accessible.
You're accessible, but more importantly, you're observant. It creates a feedback loop. If the sidewalk outside the Buttery is cracking, he trips over it just like everyone else.
It grounds the policy in reality, removes the abstraction.
Exactly. It's hard to ignore a pothole when you drive over it every day. He's not reading a report about the town's condition. He is walking through the report every day.
So we've established he's a systems thinker and he's physically present. But what about the platform? What's he actually planned to do?
This is where it might get a little less exciting for people who want flashy promises, but where the real value is for residents.
Okay, prepare us. No monorail.
No monorail. When asked about priorities, he doesn't promise a revolution. He doesn't say, I'm going to build a stadium.
Which is usually a red flag when local candidates say things like that. It means they don't understand the budget.
It usually does. Instead, he focuses on the fundamentals. 3 things: public safety, infrastructure, and sound financial stewardship.
The boring stuff. The vegetables of government.
The essential stuff. The oxygen of government.
I know.
Go back to that dual-use risk background. He gets that you can't have the nice parks and the booming restaurants if the foundation is cracking.
It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs for a town.
It is. Safety and shelter first. And he pairs that with a methodology. He talks about listening.
Okay, but every politician says they're going to listen.
Right. It's a cliche, but he frames it differently. He talks about listening to understand how decisions actually flow. He's looking for friction points.
So it's not, I feel your pain, it's, I want to debug the code.
Yes. It's systems theory. He's not looking to tear the house down. He's looking for the squeaky hinge, the drafty window. He says good local governance is about consistent, disciplined execution.
Consistent, disciplined execution. Not exactly a sexy bumper sticker.
No, but it's what keeps your taxes stable and your streets paved. He's making decisions for the next decade, not the next election.
So up to this point, we have a profile of a very serious guy. Military, tech, infrastructure, risk. It all sounds a little intense, maybe a little rigid.
You might think that. And if we stopped there, you'd have a picture of a very competent, maybe slightly dry administrator.
But there's a curveball.
There's a curveball. A fun fact buried in here that completely changes the texture of his personality.
The kinetic energy.
The kinetic energy. Dan Kunze doesn't just watch sports. He plays for the Malvern Kings.
A local baseball team.
And this isn't some beer league where no one keeps score. In 2025, they won the Bucksmont Men's Championship.
Wait, so he's actively winning baseball championships while dealing with all this other stuff?
Apparently so. And he also mentions that he boxes to stay in shape.
Boxing and baseball.
He even says, and I quote, "I'm probably not as retired from sports as I sometimes tell myself."
I love that. But what does this tell us about him as a leader? Because you don't do those things if you're passive.
No, you don't. It shows drive. It shows he likes to compete. And think about those sports. Baseball is a team sport with high individual accountability. Boxing, that's pure discipline.
It adds this whole other layer to the profile. It shows he's willing to get in the ring, literally and figuratively.
It does. It shows vitality. He's in the arena, and then, just so he doesn't sound like some terrifying machine, he brings in the family element.
The soft side.
He talks about his wife, Karen, weekends at Little League, fishing, following Philly sports.
Being a Philly sports fan. Is that the soft side or just being a glutton for punishment?
I think it's a character-building exercise in resilience.
Okay.
But seriously, it reinforces the idea of balance. He's not one-dimensional. He's a dad, a husband, a veteran, a businessman, an athlete, and a neighbor all at once.
Which is such an interesting case study for modern leadership. We used to have these siloed leaders. The business guy or the military man, he's a hybrid.
He's synthesizing all of it into one role.
So let's bring this all together. What's the synthesis here? What's the big takeaway from this profile?
I think the synthesis is in his closing message. It's his view on power. He says, Malvern works because people care about it and are willing to show up.
That's a very decentralized view.
It is. He's not saying Malvern will work because I am here to fix it. He isn't the savior on the hill. He's saying it works because we care.
It's the difference between ruling a town and serving a town.
Exactly. He's saying, I have these skills, risk management, systems thinking, discipline, and I'm offering them to the community to keep this good thing going.
It takes the ego out of it and just puts the focus on the function.
And in local politics, function is everything.
Well, this has been a fascinating look at Councilmember Dan Kunze. It really reminds you that local government isn't some distant machine. It's just neighbors stepping up.
Absolutely. These seats are filled by people you see at the grocery store.
And before we sign off, I want to leave you, the listener, with a thought to chew on. We talked about Kunze's conversion moment, when Malvern stopped being just a place and started being home.
The psychology of place, it's a powerful concept.
It is. And it's not always about buying a house. Sometimes it's a feeling or a habit. So my question to you is this. What is the specific moment or the habit in your life that marks that transition from just occupying a space to being part of a community?
That's a great question to end on.
Is it when the barista knows your order? When you join a local league? Is it when you finally report a pothole because you actually care about that road?
Yeah.
Think about it. It's the difference between being a tenant and being a citizen.
And identifying that moment might just be the first step to serving your own community.
Exactly. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.
See you then.